Alright, my name is Jacob Hughes, and this is the Skills Lab number 2. And this is a chandelier, and this is just supposed to be a walkthrough on how to make it to understand that I actually what, understand what I'm doing. So, if you go to the top and you hit the curve thing under the create, and I usually zoom it out and then just make it, just add a bunch of points. Um, and the reason you add a bunch of points is because when we do stuff that we do later, it makes it look a little bit nicer. And if you mess up, you can um, rotate it easily, or not rotate it, fix it easily. So then we're gonna rotate it 90 degrees, the x-axis, and then translate it up, and then a little bit to the right, and that'll make sense a little bit later. So it should look like this right now. In the bottom right hand corner, you will see the object you just made, the curve. Double click into that. And if you hit tab, you can look up any node that you want, or you can also just go through the tabs on the top. But the tab in the node thing is a lot easier than the other one. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a resample. And what the resample does, and if you click on an object in the node thing, and if you click on you hover over it, and there's like a circle. So the far right is display, the one right next to that is template, one right next to that is lock, and then the one right next to that is bypass. So for this assignment, we're mostly going to use the display, which is the blue one, like the view, and then the template. So then we can see the difference between the resample and the curve. It just makes it look a little bit nicer. We hit tab again, and we're looking for the smooth node. And just put that into there, and the smooth node makes it look pretty perfect. It doesn't really look as blocky as it did before. And then we can go up, do the tab, and we can look for the copy. And there are 3 copies, or 4 major copies: copy and transform, copy stamp, copy to curves, and copy to points. And the one we want to use is a copy stamp. Just works the best. And then put this output and put it into the first node right here, like the first circle on the node right there. And then we want 6 copies. And then if we rotate it in the z-axis and we do 360 divided by $NCY, it'll rotate the way we want it to rotate. And the reason we do the 360 divided by $NCY is to make it easier to change later in the future. Because if we make it easier to change later in the future, then it's easier for someone else to come in our project and make it have more than 6 copies. Okay, and from there, maybe jump the gun a little bit, but from there, we are going to hit tab again, and we're going to make a circle. Tab circle, and then if we keep this open, we can hit tab again. We're looking for the sweep, and then we can put it right there. And I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so this is CGT 147, and I'm going to be teaching how to make a realistic looking chandelier. I mean, not, realistic. Just like we're just gonna be modeling a chandelier. So first thing you want to do is go up to the Create tab and look for the curve. Just click that and then start making a curve here. And then the reason we put in a lot of points is because if we have to change it later, it makes it easier to work with. So then after that is done, if you hit S on the keyboard, select the object, and then you hit R, we're going to rotate it 90 degrees in the Z axis. And then if you hit T, just move it up so it's, I would say the bottom of the curl is at least above the origin plane. And then in the bottom right hand corner, this is where all the nodes are. Just double click in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to resample. Just hit tab and then look for the and then type in resample. And what the resample does, it just makes the curve look a little bit better. And then we're also going to hit tab and we're going to look for smooth. Place that right underneath here, connect those nodes. And then the smooth makes it go from looking like not the greatest to pretty smooth. And then next, we want to make a circle. And for the circle, we don't need to make it visible because we're about to be done with the circle super quickly. So we just hit R, circle, if you want to rotate it 90 degrees in the Y axis. And then just pull these up 90 degrees in the Y axis. And then down here, you want to do a sweep, just tab, and then start typing in sweep. And what the sweep is, and actually we need to make this circle a polygon. And what the sweep thing does is it makes, yeah, what the sweep thing does is it makes the circle, you put the smooth in the first dot, you put the curve in the first dot, you put this circle in the second dot, and it essentially just maps the circle for the whole entire thing. And then instead of it looking like a fat sausage, you can just scale it down a little bit. In this case, a lot of it. Yeah, just scale it down a little bit, like that's good enough. And then from there, hit tab again, and you can do polyfill. And just disconnect this. So what the polyfill does is it fills the bottom of the geometry. So you see how on this one it's open, and if I hit that, it disappears, and it messes with the UV a little bit, but we do not need the UV for this assignment, so we're not going to worry about that. All right, so that's that. That's one arm done, and next, we could make all 6 arms and then make the bowl to put on top and then the candle and the flame later. But for the purpose of this assignment, it'd be easier to do it all in one. So what we're gonna do is I'm putting the polyfill thing on the template, and then I'm going to make a circle. Or no. I lied. I'm gonna make a sphere. Make that visible. And then if we go into hit space and you hit space and 3, it changes the views. So there's top view, front view, right view, then UV, but we don't need UVs right now. So if you do this and then you hit S, and up here, and then up here, so after you make the arm, we can move on to making the bowl that holds the candle. So if we each hit tab in the node thing, the node window, and you type in sphere, let's click that down, and then what we'll actually do is make this make the arm a template, make the sphere visible, and then if we change the primitive types to polygon mesh, and then we also want to rotate it 90 degrees in the Z. But yeah, if we do that and then we hit space 3, takes us to our side view. And then if you already have S selected, just hit S, do select by points. And I would say we probably do about that. And then you can just hit delete, and it changes it to a blast over here. Change it to blast. And then after it's a blast, what needs to be done is a poly extrude. And you can do a poly extrude by also clicking this tab up here, looking for poly extrude, and then okay, never mind. Easiest way to do poly extrude is just come down here, hit tab, type in poly extrude, and then space 1, and then you can just hit S again, and you can do edges. I would say for this one, just do click that, and if you hit shift, double click, it goes around the whole entire edge. Just want to extrude that. Let's see. Make this viewable so we know how it affects it. Distance. Like 0. Yep, and then just change the distance so it gives the illusion of being not paper thin, because nothing is paper thin. So just do that, and then maybe probably a safe bet is do like one of these, and then making that distance that inset. Let's do that, and then yeah, just scale. Never mind. So in the node window, if you make a tube and then you go up here and you make it a polygon, you gotta rotate it 90 degrees in the z-axis, and you gotta make, I would say the more rows, the better. Probably like 16 rows and 16 columns. Um, and then if you, I lost it. Okay. If you just move the S, T, S, select all the points, hit T, and just translate them so that they are over the bowl, close to center. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just yeah, just close to center. And this is where like space 2 goes to top view, and then space 3, because you can really get precision like that. But yeah, so this is what we have. Candle, and then the bowl right underneath it. And then what we actually want to do is hit tab and then do sculpt node. So sculpt node, what it does is what the sculpt node does. Actually, it'd be easier. Just to go to deform. Okay, it'd be easier if you go to the model tab on the top, hit sculpt, and then connect. It automatically connects to the tube. And what should happen is oh, S S points. Okay, and once you get the candle in the right place, go up to the model tab, sculpt, and this will do quite a few things. So if you have out too much, or you just hit a spot too much, like a certain spot too much, it'll come out. I would say probably about 0.01. It's a pretty good thing. Pretty good thing. And then yeah, just so this is a candle. Just try to do it like as freeform as you can. Just up and down, maybe click around a few times, and if it looks too far out, then just hit Control Z a couple times, make it look like it's supposed to be there. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, just see. It might have to be a little bit. Yeah. So you can see I tried to fix it by making it a little bit bigger. Wasn't working. Yep, I would say that's pretty good. Yeah, that's about good. Make it look like it has candle, like candle wax dripping outside. All right. So that's, and then after you get um it modeled, we can do is just to make everything look a little bit nicer. Just bring these down next to each other. Hit tab. Go for another Go for a merge node. The merge node is pretty cool. It just merges the geometry together. So now if we hit view, it is merged together with all of that. And yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then from there, let's just hit. Okay, and then after you make the candle, if you go down to the node menu and you hit tab and you look for copy, there's four main copies: copy and transform, copy stamp, copy to curves, and copy to points. And copy stamp is the one we're looking for. Make that visible, and then we want 6 copies. And oh yeah, um, we want 6 copies, and then in my case, I'm rotating them in the x-axis. So if you do 360, because we want 6 of them, and then $ and CY in all caps, it'll make them perfectly laid out. And it'll look something like this. And then after we get this basic model down, we're to come over to the side, we're gonna hit tab, and then we are going to look for a tube. And we're to make yeah, we're gonna make a mesh, put end caps on, rotate it the Z by 90, and then just gonna mess with the height and the radius. Do the template on that so I can see how it fits on the pull of the arm, or actually of all of the arms. And then just gotta change the scale till it's about there. And then a big factor of this is making it so there's a lot of rows and columns. 14. 14 works fine. Just gonna hit T. S so I can select all the faces, and then hit T. And then just select all the faces, and for some reason my Maya is messed up right now. It's not letting me get like a direct up and down, but that's okay. I can work around that. These, get it to about where it needs to be. Get it to where it's about needs to be. Move it in that direction a little bit, and then should be good. Get it down to just a tad. And then also change the height. It looks a little too high. Make it look a little bit shorter. I'd say that's about good. maybe even a little bit shorter. Yeah, yep, I'd say that's pretty good. Yep. So then after um, we do this, if we go into the side view, okay, and then once you get it into position where you like it and you think it looks good, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to um, S, and then make sure you're on faces. For some reason my faces aren't working. They're not showing the lines, but do about probably every two. Uh, press and hold shift while you do it. Yeah, just every two. And then we are going to drop in a um, poly bevel. Feed this in here. Okay, my mistake. This is where they show up. Okay. So then you hit two. So every two, roughly. And then what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to um, okay. What we're going to want to do is we are going to want to okay. And after you get it into this position, in the position you want it, just hit tab and do a poly extrude. So what this will do is um, S and make faces. Do poly extrude. For some reason, my Houdini is not showing me the things. See that, and then hit Shift and probably about every two. And then if you change okay, and then from there, one small change is that if you click the tube and you unclick the end caps, you don't need the end caps because it's going to be around poles, so it doesn't really need to be a full thing. So then the edit, and then you hit tab, poly, extrude, drag that node right there, and then if you, I would say every two. Um, so if you hit the tube and then uncheck the end caps, even though I said check them earlier, it makes it, we don't need end caps because it's going to be around the poles, like the center of the chandelier. So then after that, click this edit and just hit tab and do a poly extrude. Drag that node, connect the nodes, and then just shift click. I would do about every two rows, do a two rows like that, and then make the poly extrude visible. And then I would just mess around with the distance and see what looks good. Yeah, I would say that looks about good. Good enough. So then that's that part done, and then after that, uh, we're gonna need a second one of these at the bottom, at the base, down here roughly. So the easiest way to do this, we could just like duplicate the thing, the arm holder, and then we could transform that down. But the easier way to do it is just a tab copy, and then the copy and stamp, and then just drag that into the first one, make that visible, and we want 2 copies, and then in our case the x-axis works better. So if you just, I mean, this is just like an eyeball. Say about right there. You want a little higher. Forward a little bit so it's not clipping. But yeah, after that is the almost done. Almost done um, with this. And all right, after the 2 arm holders, I don't know what they're called. Arm holders. I'm just gonna say. After those are done, come up right next to this tube, hit tab, type in sphere, make that visible, and make it a polygon mesh. And since my thing is kind of messed up, I have to rotate it. I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees in the z-axis. Hit T. Just gonna move it up to kind of where I want it. And then if you hit space 3, it takes you in the side view. I'm gonna do S. I can select faces and probably bring it around to around them around right there. Just hit delete, and that does a thing called a blast. And from there, we're going to hit poly extrude. And for the poly extrude, we're going to select edges, like this whole thing right here. To do that, you just hit shift, then double click, and it adds, does everything. Okay, the recording cut out. But yeah, so if you hit shift, double click, it'll go around this whole entire thing, and from there, we can, what's happening? Be selected. Yeah, so from there, just hit W to get the wireframe selection, and then just change the inset to something like this. And then just click away. Let me select these points. I'm gonna do a another poly extrude. And then these points do okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, should be all selected. Let's see, non-wireframe. Alright, this looks super extreme. So I think if we change this poly extrude, yeah, if we change this one back down, just 1 second. This poly extrude. Make it flat. And then hit tab. Do another poly extrude. And then for this one, we can S. Gotta go wireframe so I can see. What is happening? Okay. 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 And once you get it relatively looking, I would set the inset down or up a little bit, and then set the distance like that, so it kind of looks like the wireframe. So it kind of looks like that, and then I would say that looks um, good enough for what we need it to do. So then after that, just hit S, and then just S, select everything, T. I would just move it up like that. Make sure it's center. Yeah, everything looks good. And then at the very end, we can put another poly extrude. Just drop it in between there. And then with this, just hit S again and select all these outer edges. Okay. Oh, never mind about that. But yeah, it looks good enough. And then at the very end, I would just throw in a polyfill. And what that does, it just fills the bottom of it. So it's a full object. Yeah, I would say that looks pretty good. And then another thing we need is a place for the chains to hold on to hold it up. So just hit tab, type in torus, essentially a donut. I would make the top part visible, like a template, and then make the torus visible. And it's a pretty big torus. So what I would do is just make the radius about like that. We turn down the scale a little bit, and then just hit T. Move that straight up. It's still too big. No worries. We can just scale it down. I don't know what I did there. Scale it down. Probably move it down about there. Maybe scale it down even more. Yeah, that's about good. So then, yeah, that's taken care of. And then at the very end of this, tab, copy, make a copy node. not copy node, not copy node. Make a merge node, and then all of these will get merged like that. And then just for sake of making it easier to see, probably just drag it up next to the main stuff. But yeah. And that is that part done. And honestly, delete the merge node we just made, and I'll scratch that. Yeah, just keep that merge node, and you can just plug it into that. And I keep messing up. See if we can do this. Alright. This can get put into a merge node there, and then that can go there. Copy node can go over here. Bigger merge here. There we go. It's looking a lot better. But yeah. Okay, and then once that one merge node is created and there's the ring on the top, next we're going to focus on the chain. So if you just hit tab, and we're just going to put in a box. I'm actually going to put that on template mode and view the box. So what we can do with this box is just hit T, and then probably make it a lot bit thinner. And then if you hit the edges, oh yeah, make it a polygon mesh, and then so that edit, just hit T, yeah, S, so you can select all of that. E, scale it down so it's thin, maybe a little bit in, and then S again. Hit S again, hit the edges, and then hit the W for wireframe. And so what we're gonna do is just take these, and we are going to scale them down the Y and the Z, and then yeah, scale them down the Y and the Z, just so they look like a relatively chain type shape. So then after we transform it or like edit it into that, we are going to do a we're gonna do is just copy and paste the same thing, and the only difference with this new one is we're gonna make it. The only difference with this new one is, let's make sure I got everything. We're gonna push it in. Just use the middle thing to get it in. Use this as a template, and then make it bigger. Just a little bit bigger. Yeah, so it looks like that. So then what we can do is do a Boolean node, and a Boolean node just makes the two, it makes the, you can essentially have an object, and if you do the Boolean on it, it'll cut in the other object that you connect with it. So in this example, we had this, I'll hit W again. We had that, and then we had this one, and then when the Boolean mode, the geometry A, so the node on the left, like the input on the left, is the geometry that you want to get Booleaned, and the one on the right is the thing that Booleans through it. So it just makes a hole in the object. So then after we do that, we can put this template back on. Yeah, we can put the template back on. S. Just make sure I got trigger everything. Just hit T. You can move it up to the ring, and then I would scale it pretty far down, just so it looks like it's the ring. And then after we do that, since we want to make a chain connecting and they alternate, what we can do is just rotate in the x-axis, rotate it 90 degrees, so it looks like that. So then to make the alternating chain pattern, just drop in another, oh, I mistyped. Just hit tab and then drop in another copy node, copy stamp node, put that in there, and for now we're just gonna do five copies, and then actually let's start with 2 copies. So with 2 copies, if you make it go up, which in my case is the x-axis for some reason. Yeah, if you make it go up and then you rotate it 90 degrees in the x too, then you get the alternating pattern, and then since the copies go off the previous geometry, so this copy goes off of that. If you keep making it go, it'll just keep building the chain the chains in the intended thing. So for right now, let's just keep it at 5. So with that, all you have to do is a final merge node. Connect that, connect that. So now we can view this thing as it's in its full glory. And yeah, that's the chandelier. And then after you get the final merge node put in, if you go back to the object view and you hit this gearbox and edit parameter interface, and then I would minimize these tabs, drop in a new folder, name it chandelier, capital S. But yeah, and then after that, just drop in an integer, 2 integers. And one of the integers is going to be the number of arms. So num underscore arms. The label can just be number of arms. And then for the second label, it can just be chain length. Then from there, it's channels box, and for the default in a 6, and then for the linked channels, if you click in to the chandelier itself, and you go to the and then sorry about that, we're gonna add another add copy. Okay, so if I go number of arms, do the parameter, name it, and then I hit channels, and I type in 6 here because that's what it's at. And then for the link channels, if you go back into this node window, go into this copy, and what you can do is drag number of copies, put it where it says drop parameters here to add new links, and then do that. And then for the chain length, it's going to be the same thing, where this copy node, number of copies for the default, we're just going to put in 5. And then drag and drop that. And then after that's done, apply, accept, go back to the object mode. So then once you go back into this the object mode and you click on the chandelier, you can change, and it automatically sets everything 6, and you can also change the length of the chain. Keep that at 5 for now.